Amir Abdullah, being the oldest one there, is a cut and trade candidate. Now, I know we just re-signed him to a one-year deal. That doesn't really mean a lot, though. Guys get signed to one-year deals all the time, and then they get cut or traded. I'm not sure that he has any trade value being 30 years old, and he really doesn't get the ball very much. That's kind of a problem with him. Next on my list of a possible cut and trade is going to be Britt Brown. He's been with us for 3 years out of UCLA. Showed some promise in preseason games, but he's never really gotten a shot. He's a little bit bigger of a guy. In fact, he's the tallest running back that we have at 6'1". He's 205, so he's not like a really big, heavy guy. That would be Alexander Madison at 220. But, you know, Britton has never really done much. And maybe that's because he hasn't gotten a chance. When you're looking at a guy who's in his third year with the team as a running back and he still hasn't shown out, maybe in practices and camps, that he should be given a shot to get more touches of the ball, that's a bit concerning. So I think Britt Brown is definitely going to be on that cut and or trade. Again, I don't think you get much trade value with a guy like him. You could cut him and teams may or may not even pick him up on a practice squad. The telltale sign of this is that the Raiders went and drafted a running back who is basically the white version of Amir Abdullah in Dylan Laube. Great guy. You know, he's young. He's a rookie. Very cheap deal. He brings that young athleticism, and he's great as a receiving back, but he can also run his butt off. Again, a telltale sign that the Raiders are not real big on a couple of our running backs that we have in the running back room right now. We also went and signed in the free agency with Alexander Madison, who is 25 years old, been in the league for like 6 years out of Boise State. He's another Amir Abdullah, you know, kind of a look-alike. He's just bigger, a little bit taller, and he's a lot heavier, about 15 pounds heavier. So with that, I'm gonna say Amir Abdullah's job is looking more and more questionable at this point, and Britt Brown, because again, it's kind of the same running back. Britt Brown is 26, so he's the second oldest running back that we have on the squad right now. That brings us down to Alexander Madison. Now, obviously, we just bring Madison in. We're definitely expecting big things for him. Obviously, this is going to be the Zamir White show, but running back number 2 is clearly going to be Alexander Madison. He can do it all. He's a big body guy at 220 pounds, so he's going to be the bruiser. He's certainly not as fast as Zamir White. Zamir White's going to be like the lightning, and Alexander Madison is going to be like the thunder. So expect Alexander Madison to come in on those 3rd and 1s. Expect him to come in because he's also an excellent receiving back. Expect him to come in on some receiving downs. So he is definitely not on the chopping block whatsoever or the trade block. His job is pretty much safe. I'm going to say him and Laube are probably, you know, unless Laube just really is not good in training camp and preseason, he could get cut or demoted down to like a practice squad type of situation, but we'll have to wait and see. Then you got Zamir McCormick, again, a guy who's been with us for a couple years at Texas San Antonio. You know, he's 23 years old. He's 5'9", 205 pounds. You got to kind of wonder, what are the Raiders doing with Zamir McCormick? He's a talented dude. He's got some skill, but him and Britt Brown have just not really gotten an opportunity. Zamir McCormick is one of those dudes who could be on the chopping block. And again, we got 6 right now. Come week 1, we will only be carrying maximum 4 running backs, and most likely only 3, and then we'll drop 1 or 2 down into the practice squad, and the rest we will cut. So look for one of them to go. And lastly, but obviously not least, is Zamir White. This is now the Zamir White show. He's going into his 3rd year out of Georgia. Very highly talented guy. Zamir is not a little dude. Even though he's quick, he's not lightning speed. He's not going to outrun DBs for very far, but he is 215 pounds, so he is faster than Alexander Madison. Yeah, I mean, not by a whole lot, and he's also not that much smaller either. He's only an inch shorter and 5 pounds lighter. So Zamir is going to be the lightning. Madison's going to be the thunder. But I mean, both could be the thunder because they both lay dudes down pretty well. And Zamir runs with a chip on his shoulder. Like, he really wants to play hard. He wants to prove that he belongs, that he deserves to be where he's at. And so I'm excited to see what the two of these guys really bring. Going into the season, we're going to have Zamir White is obviously running back number 1, and then we're going to have Alexander Madison as RB2, and then most likely Laube is going to make it into that third spot, but he's going to have to compete with Amir Abdullah.